Do you realize that every time you go online, your information is being collected, categorized, and sold to the highest bidder? Let's face it, in today's world, digital information is the most valuable asset out there, and big corporations are making a fortune off of you.
We estimate we can sell up to 80% of an individual's visual field before inducing seizures.
Although Ready Player One is a great science fiction movie set in the future, make no mistake, these business practices they're talking about are already in place. Big Brother is watching. So how do you fight against it? Well, today we're going to do just that, because we just received our brand new Anyone router. We're going to add a layer of security to everything we do online, as well as earn some nice passive income by supplying that security for others. Now, for some of you who've been following me a while, the Anyone protocol probably sounds a little familiar. Well, it probably should, because the Anyone router is not the only way to earn the Anyone token. In fact, a while back in this video right here, I showed you how you could turn your old helium miner into a multi-mining machine. And if we take a look at the multi-mining dashboard here, you can see Anyone is listed out as one of the protocols we've been earning. But there is a big difference about how much we can earn utilizing our old helium miner versus a dedicated Anyone router. That's what I want to point out today. But first, let's take a look at what really sets Anyone apart from other security measures, say like a VPN. So when we take a look at the documentation, it says the Anyone protocol is centered around its depin privacy layer, a traffic routing network where all traffic is forwarded through multi-hop VPN tunnels. Now, however, unlike VPNs, there's no need to trust a central company to not track your internet activity. So by encrypting each packet multiple times in a process known as onion routing, the network ensures that no individual node or destination site can infer a user's request. Now, putting it very simply, that means while you're working your computer, the information is then passed to the Anyone router, which then splits it into multiple packets and encrypts it. Then those packets are sent through multiple routers in pieces. That way, no one location has the entire packet of information, nor can they access it or track it, because the origin of that information, as well as the destination, is unknown throughout this journey. That means until its final destination, nowhere along its journey can it be accessed, tracked, or monitored by anybody. Now, I'm sure some of you out there are asking, hey Serenity, if you're already earning the Anyone token utilizing the Crank multi-mining software, why did you decide to buy a dedicated Anyone router? I mean, isn't that like redundant? Actually, it's not. And to answer that, I've got to show you the average earnings based on the hardware you're running. So if we look at the average earnings between the two different types of devices, we can see that our Crank multi-mining software is going to earn an average of about 0.234 Anyone tokens per day. But if we look at the dedicated Anyone router, we can see it's earning an average of 2.756 Anyone tokens per day. Now, I don't know about you, but that's a 10x difference in the daily returns. Now, I've been a part of Anyone for quite a while. I like the team, I like what they're doing, so I felt pretty confident in picking up an Anyone router. But like I always say, don't listen to me, don't listen to anybody else. Go out and do your own research and decide if Anyone is right for you. I'll put links in the description down below to the documentation, the website, and even a referral link to AmpChampment, where I personally got my Anyone router. So now let's go find out what's in the box and how hard is it to set up. So now let's take a look at what comes in the box with the Anyone router. So when we open this guy up, the first thing we see is the specifications, the details, even a QR code for your setup guide to get started. Makes it really easy. Now there it is, the router itself. And this is a little tiny guy. That's pretty cool. So there it is, setting in the palm of my hand to give you an idea of the size. It really is small and sleek. And I love the fact that it has hangers on the back of it, so I could actually mount this on the wall right behind my PC, keep it out of the way, yet still see the lights on the front so I can watch the status. So along with the Anyone router, it comes with a nice little Anyone sticker and another QR code, the full setup guide here. So there you go. You can scan that QR code and get your full installation setup. Now there's also a little box here, and if I'm not mistaken, that's going to come with my USB to USB-C power cable. Yep, sure enough, there it is. So one thing you are going to have, if you don't have an available USB slot, you will need to pick up a power block, something like this, where it plugs into your power and offers USB compatibility. But make sure your USB block handles at least 3 amps at 5 volts. Now, to go through the setup process, I'm going to be utilizing the online documentation. I'm going to put a link in the description down below to the docs and everything you're going to need to know. But it says step 1, begin by connecting the power cable to a suitable power outlet with minimum 15 watts, which means we need a 5 volt, 3 amp power distribution block. Now, once you have that set up, go ahead and take your USB-C and plug it right here in the back of the router. So this last port right here is USB-C. Plug that guy in, and then wait for the lights. There we go. It says the relay will boot up, and you will see green lights rotating. Yep, looks like they're spinning around. Let's go and go to the next step. So wait for the device to start. Once started, it will display a steady red. So after just a few seconds, they are all solid red, as you can see. But if your light is flashing red, that means you probably don't have enough power to it, so double check your power output. Make sure that your power block has enough, which is 5 volts and 3 amps. Otherwise, you could end with this flashing red icon. So we've got solid red. Let's move on. So enabling the Wi-Fi pairing mode. Press and hold the blue physical button on the side of the device for 3 seconds to activate the setup mode. So if we check right here on the side, you see there's a blue button. So hold that. 1, 2, 3, and release. Hey, all right, we got the pretty blue little pyramid looking guy. Okay, next it says connect to the activated Wi-Fi hotspot. You can now connect your relay via Wi-Fi to proceed with the setup. Scan for nearby devices, connect to Relay Up serial ID, where the SSID contains your relay serial ID. Okay, so to do that, first of all, let's move the relay up a little bit on our screen here, because we got to get in this bottom corner on Windows. Now, if you're using different operating system, of course, this will be a little different. But for Windows, I'm going to go down here on the network setting, go to Available Wi-Fi's, click the drop-down, and I'm looking for one called Relay Up. So as we scroll through these, we see there is no Relay Up. Now, I can tell you, I've been trying to get this to come up for the last several hours, and it hasn't. I can see it on my cell phone, but I've tried 3 different computers, and it's not showing up. So I want to show you a workaround how to get around this if you're stuck here. So if you run into the same problem, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our network cable that we were planning on plugging this into anyway, and we're going to plug it right in the device, even though the instructions don't tell us to. Now, the next thing we're going to do is scan our IP addresses to find our Relay Up device. Now, I'm going to use Advanced IP Scanner, but you can use whatever you like, whether it's going through your router or any other way you want to do it. And I'm just going to open up Advanced IP Scanner and click Scan. Now what I'm looking for is something called Relay Up. And right there we can see Relay Up comes up, and it tells me its IP address is 192.168.0.35. Okay, really important. So now that we have that IP address, we can go and close that, and we're going to open a new tab and go 192.168.0.35, type that straight in the address bar, and hit enter. That is going to take us to the Relay Up, the exact same place we would be had we been connecting with our Wi-Fi. So now that we've got that up, let's head back over to our directions and see what it tells us to do next. Okay, so we've gone past that step, says access the setup wizard. If your captive portal doesn't open automatically in your browser, navigate to relayup.home or via the IP address of whatever your IP address is. But we should be sitting in this screen, and we are. Okay, so if you do get stuck finding Relay Up, that's one way you can get around it, and they do recommend you can go to Relay Home, which I tried and that didn't work, or you can use the IP address that they presented, and that one didn't work either. But getting the IP of the device and putting that in directly did allow me to get to the welcome screen. So let's proceed with step 6. Authenticate to proceed with setup. Log into the default credentials below and proceed following the instructions. So the default password is admin. Let's head back over. We'll go ahead and agree, and we'll type in admin. And no, we do not want to save that password. Then it gives us an option whether we want to do a relay and router setup or just a router only setup. Now, we want to share our bandwidth to earn. Now, if we don't want to share our bandwidth, then you would go with the router only. But we're going to go ahead and go with both. Now, the next screen asks us, what is your preferred setup method? So we check the documentation. It says relay can be configured to connect to your network router using either an Ethernet cable or Wi-Fi to access the internet. Now, Ethernet, connect an Ethernet cable to the device's Ethernet port and ensure that the message Ethernet recognized appears if you preferred a wired internet connection. So earlier, if you didn't have to connect your Ethernet cable, right now would be the time to get that plugged in. Then you can proceed to the next step. Or if you choose to do Wi-Fi, then ensure that no Ethernet cable is inserted into the device, as this will prioritize the Ethernet connection over Wi-Fi. And then you can go through the process of selecting your network, entering your passkey. So once we've got that, we're ready to put in the relay information. So let's head back over, and we're going to select Ethernet. So the first thing we've got to do is name our relay. So of course we're going to call it Serenity's Relay. Nice and simple, I like it. Then it's going to ask us for our email address, so I'm going to put that in, and then click Next. And apparently it doesn't like the space or special characters, so we'll just make it Serenity Relay all in one, and click Next. There we go. Then the next screen says, to be eligible to earn rewards, we must enter our Ethereum address. Now, we can also fill this in later from a relay control panel if we choose. But since we're here, let's go ahead and enter it in. So we'll go ahead and open up our MetaMask. Then right there at the top, we'll go ahead and copy our address, come down here, and then paste it into the field. There we go. And that is a public address, so I'm not worried about sharing it. Okay, once you got that entered, go ahead and click Next. Now, the next screen talks about the port the information is going to travel through. And so the default port is 9001. Now, I will let you know, we will have to set up port forwarding regardless of what port we use. But like I mentioned before, I'm already running the Anyone protocol on my Helium hotspot, and it's already using port 9001. So I'm going to change mine to port 9003. That way I know the traffic's not going to conflict. Now, we will have to set up port forwarding, and that is different on every single router on the market out there, but I can show you how I do mine, but definitely check the documentation on your home router to find out how to do the port forwarding. So once we've got that port entered, go ahead and click Next. Okay, the next screen asks, would you like to turn on the router? This is a great time to stop and set up that port forwarding. So to do that, first of all, we have to access our home router. Now mine's a TP link, which means I simply type in the address 192.168.0.1. Then once I log into my router, I go to the Advanced tab, then go down to NAT forwarding, and then into port forwarding. Now once I'm in the port forwarding tab, I can go through each one of these and look at all the different ports I have forwarded out already. So you can see right here, I'm running Anyone on my mini PC on port 9002. Then we check further down and we see I'm running Anyone on my Helium miner on port 9001. That's why I chose port 9003, because I know it doesn't conflict with anything else. So I highly recommend go through each of your tabs. Make sure it's not going to conflict with anything that's already running. Once you have your port confirmed, the next thing we're going to need is the IP address to set this up. So we check back over on Advanced IP Scanner. We know that our Anyone router is running on IP address 192.168.035. And we're going to run that on port 9003. So we have to have those two pieces of information. Once we've got that, go ahead and go to our port forwarding and click the Add. Now we're going to name this service. What is it? Well, this is our Anyone router. Something simple that stands out from the rest of them. The device IP address is what we just got off Advanced IP Scanner. That's 192.168.0.35. Now we tell it what port we want that traffic to flow through. And that was 9003. That's going to be our external port as well as our internal ports, 9003. Now, the protocol, we can do all, TCP, or UDP. Just to make it safe in my book, I'm going to set it for all. So once I've got those all saved, go ahead and click Save. And there we go. Now we can see that our Anyone router is on IP address 192.168.035 on port number 9003 for internal and external, and it's active and ready to go. So let's head back over to the next step. So back on the dashboard, it says, would you like to turn on the router? So yes, turn on the router, or no, I'll set this up later. So let's head back over the documentation real quick. And this is where we've got to understand exactly what the router is doing. It says you can now choose whether to enable router mode for devices connecting to the hardware Wi-Fi's hotspot. This does not interfere with your relay's traffic. Instead, it uses the Anon client to route all incoming traffic, including DNS requests, through the Anyone network, encrypting the traffic and hiding the client's origin. Read more about the router mode features and functionality here. Now, some of you might want to turn this on, some of you may not. That's totally up to you. Me personally, I'm going to go ahead and leave this off for right now because in the dashboard, it does say I can set this up later. So I'm going to go ahead and click No. Now, as you can see, as soon as I did that, my lights over here on the router did a flash to red, and now it's spinning around on green. Then when we head back over the documentation, it says check your light indicators for connectivity. Depending on whether a wired Ethernet or wireless Wi-Fi connection was selected, in the previous steps, the corresponding indicator lights will turn green, both physically on the device and in the control panel. So you can see on the device right here, we see Ethernet added, or Ethernet enabled is the top right corner. Wi-Fi enabled is the top left corner. So our device, as you can see on the screen, this one is lit up right now. Now, next step for relay operations. To allow traffic to reach your device, you will need to create a port forwarding rule in your network router to ensure the relay's reachability on the Anon network. Now, since we've already done the port forwarding, we kind of fast forwarded past this step, and we're a step ahead of the game. So let's keep going. Okay, connect to the relay control panel from a device connected to the same network as the relay. Browse to this website or the IP of the device and log in using the following credentials. which is username relay up and password admin. So we're going to go and right click on that and open the link in a new tab. Now it says, please log in to access your relay. Now it's only asking for password. So we're going to go with password admin and see if that gets us in there. And admin, and nope, we don't save it. All right. Hey, we're on a dashboard here. Now heading over the documentation, says reachability and bandwidth self-test. On the homepage, under the network section, check for the reachability status indicated with VPN or port status. Okay, so head back over the dashboard. Now on the main page, if we go down here to network, we can see the client side is running, client status is online, and reachability or port reachable. So port is reachable, and there are no flags. And there's a little information says the OR port is the port where relay listens for incoming connections. If you see OR port unreachable, it means you might need to adjust your router settings. So ours says OR port reachable. That means everything is set up, our port forwarding is rocking. Now while we're in here in the dashboard, you can see there's a lot of different things we can start setting up, including the interface for our network settings. This is where you can go in and turn on your Wi-Fi if you didn't want to turn it on in the previous step. You can go in and check the relay status, your settings, your relay family, proxy settings. All of this information is available through the Anyone dashboard. Now, this is where I recommend if you want to do some fine tuning or adjust certain things, take your time and go through this, but be very careful and read the documentation because there's a lot of possibilities that you can change in here. Well, let's head back over the documentation and see what we have to do to make sure we're registered to earn. So open the documentation up. Let's head down. It says reachability is confirmed. Once the reachability status is okay, all the lights on the relay will start pulsing in the anon blue color, indicating a successful setup. You can see right here on our router, yep, we are pulsing blue like a nice little heartbeat. I love it. Okay, if you enabled the router mode, connect to the available Wi-Fi SSID that you configured in the setup wizard and use it like any other network to browse the web anonymously. So there you go. If you decide to go back into your dashboard, turn on your Wi-Fi and then connect to it directly, that will give you anonymous browsing. And it even tells you additional steps how you can confirm your anonymous IP. I'll leave you to read the documentation to fine-tune all that as you see fit in your particular situation. But what's next? Well, we have to claim our relay in the relay dashboard. So by claiming the relay on the relay dashboard, you can start accruing rewards. Follow the link below to find out more about how to access the dashboard. So let's go ahead and head over to accessing the rewards dashboard. Okay, so once we're over here on the accessing the rewards dashboard, we can see that Anyone dashboard is hosted directly on the Arweave blockchain. This means it's immutable and can never be taken down. There are various gateways available to accessing it, including two hosted by Anyone. Now, any one of these links will take you to the same dashboard. So if you have one that's lagging behind or maybe doesn't react real well, try one of the others. But to get this set up, simply pick one of them, right-click on it and click Open Link in New Tab. Now, once you head over the dashboard, as you can see right here, I've already got some Anyone tokens, and if we click on the Relays tab, I've already got a few relays running like I told you. 2 of them are already set up and locked. Now, if you're running your own device like a Helium miner, you do have to lock 100 Anyone tokens to make sure that this is up and earning. But if you own the Anyone router, you do not have to lock any tokens. However, I will let you know it can take up to 48 hours for your relay to appear on this screen. So what you want to do is keep your Anyone router running. Keep checking back every few hours and see when it pops up here. Once it does, then simply go into Relays, go into Claimable Relays, and then it'll show up here and you simply have to claim it. And that's it. You are up and earning. It really is that simple. But there is one last tip I want to give you before we close down this tutorial, which is head back over to the Anyone Relay Control Panel. Now, as you know, we've been running on the default password to access this. Now that this is your device, now that you're set up, we want to change that password. So go down here into System, and the first thing there, it says Change Password. Okay, I highly recommend do this. Current password, well, as we know, is admin. So type that in, and then enter your password twice. Once you have those entered, go ahead and click Apply. It says Save Changes. Saving changes requires a reboot to apply. Do you want to proceed with saving settings? Yes, we do. It says right here, settings have changed, reboot required. Okay, so we have to click Reboot. Here we go, Reboot Relay. You're about to reboot your relay and apply changes settings. This will temporarily disrupt network connectivity. Do you want to proceed? Yes, we do. Let's go ahead and click Reboot. As you can see down here, it's flicking green, red, spinning around. Wait till it gets back to the flashing blue before we try to log back in with our new password. Okay, so looks like it's rebooted. We're flashing blue heartbeat again. Let's see if our password works now. So type in the new password you just entered. And there we go. All right, our password has been changed, and I highly recommend do that immediately. That way nobody else can access your control panel, because if you leave it on default, there are scammers and hackers that are going to be reaching out trying to hack into your Wi-Fi. So stay safe out there. Okay, I think that about wraps up the tutorial on the new Anyone router. Now, before you run out and buy one of these, like I always say, don't listen to me, don't listen to anybody else. Go out and do your own research. Decide if Anyone is right for you. And I'll put links in the description down below to all the documentation and everything I've done in this video. But if you do decide Anyone is right for you, make sure to check out our friends over at AmpChampment, where if you use the discount code Serenity, you can save up to $20 off your Anyone router. Now, I hope this information has been helpful. And if you enjoy content like this, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, because I'm going to keep bringing you the best crypto information I can. I want to thank you very much for your time. And until next time, have a great night.